time around, we've got the budget teams for Season 4 Vortex. I did some testing, made multiple improvements over the course of my testing, and I'm here to proudly present it. As far as damage is concerned, last season in Season 3, my video, I had some teams that did more damage than this, but what was contributing to that was the fact that we had a 30 extra crit damage, a weekly buff, which is pretty much helping all the teams do more damage. And I think the second buff was also like heals turned into shields or something really powerful. So that weekly buff I tested on last season was really good. So the teams were kind of overperforming because of that weekly buff. So here, although the numbers might be a little lower than last season, we are testing on a useless weekly buff. So these are the raw values, the raw numbers that you'll be able to achieve with no extra added power. This week is 30% more radiant damage, and none of these teams are radiant focused damage dealing teams. So to start off with last place, unfortunately Ice Blast has moved down a bit in the tiers. It's not the best budget team anymore because they are unfortunately paired with Necrotic, and Necrotic struggles to have good supports. So we had to make a team with like 3 supports here, none of them being that crazy good. And we tried our best, but this team can only pull in 37 million. Still good on a budget, but later on you'll see that Wild can get 44. So a lot of you guys will have these Wild characters. Erich was given you for free. Best one of the most wanted and probably most summoned for characters, so hopefully a lot of you guys will have him. Azolde, actually, this was the old Season 1 meta, using Azolde and Furbat together to keep a team alive. This works really well. And then Ned is only a rare, so most people will have her, and Tonon. So this team is like, I would say probably the most budget team that everyone's going to have, and yet it's doing 44 million, so not much of a reason to use Ice Blast unless there's like a weekly buff that is more like frost damage or something, and this team pulls ahead. So let's take a look. So first off, let's go into the gear and check it out. So there is some new gear sets they added this season. Starting off with the Undead set. So this set gives you increased damage when you crit based on the difference between the wearer and the opponent's crit damage. So it's 10% of the crit damage difference. So if you have 200 crit damage, and it only goes up to 20%. So if you have 200 crit damage and they have 0 crit damage, you do 20% more damage when you crit. So the goal with this set is to get 200 crit damage and 100% crit rate. Those are the numbers that you want to reach to make the set fully effective. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting it. So we're using that on a new Ice Blast Epic. We're not using Gerthen in this team, and I'll explain why. It's because this team is all ranged heroes, and we're doing that because of Thea. Thea gives invisibility and debuff immunity to all ranged allies, and then she heals the invisible allies by a big amount. And you can scale that with attack and enlightenment. So we're using her with staff to give us big shields. She's also providing invisibility, which because of her passive is giving us damage reduction. So we got shields, damage reduction, debuff immunity some of the times, although that's not really how we're using her. We have Megan in here who's giving us defense up and actually is providing that cleanse with the passive. So we're not really using her for the debuff immunity. We actually have some interesting timings with her I'll explain later, but so yeah, we have her here stacking attack. We have this for DPS. And Bled in here is providing those ice crystals that we direly need here on Nadja. One thing to mention is that this rare Ice Blast character that I was testing is actually really, really powerful. And I would say even does more damage than Nadja with the same gear. The only problem being is she has no aura. So she's really powerful, but this team is in need of an aura. And Nadja has arguably the best crit damage aura out of any rare or epic in the entire game. 48 crit damage. I don't think even some legendaries have an aura this good. So she's coming in here giving us this massive damage aura. So she ends up pulling ahead of the rare because of that. So she's helping out the whole team do more damage. So let's go over the timings here. So we're using Elida, who's giving us shields, and then those shields can trigger attack penalty when we're hit with shields because of her passive. And we're doing that at 21.5. We have some interesting timings here with Thea. We actually have a lot of skill haste on her. We got her down to 13.2 seconds. So we have her at 27 every 13.3. So every other turn, she resets that rotation. So 13.3 times 3 is 40 seconds. So every 2 turns, she's doing the same rotation. And with these timings, she's able to keep us healed pretty well and give us the damage reduction during the periods when we need it most. for the invis. Now we have Megan in here cleansing us of the defense penalty at 21.5, giving us some defense up and recovery over time. And then we just have the Witch's Remains from Bled In being applied at 11.5, alternating with the Crown from Elida at 21.5. And then Maja, I think is her name, is just following up after Bled In to do damage once the Witch's Remains is up. So pretty straightforward. And yeah, so we're using double Cyril set. So Cyril is going to always be active. These guys are alternating their defense penalty artifacts, so Cyril will always be active. And then actually I should go and look at the gear with Thea a little more in depth. So basically, Staff is giving a lot of skill haste. We need to get a lot of skill haste to get down to 13.3. We have skill haste on the runes, and we're just stacking as much attack as possible. So I have roughly, it looks like 30 skill haste on the runes. I've got the Energy Harvester gloves, which gives attack based on skill haste. So because we have so much skill haste, 110, we're getting a lot of extra attack here. And then we're just stacking attack and enlightenment as much as possible because her healing scales best with attack. So the more attack, the more heals you get. Similar to like a Cinderelle who stacks attack for big staff shields, she's the same way. So as much attack as you can possibly get. And for that reason, we're using Emissary set because this is attack and skill haste, which I guess you could use Cyril. It doesn't really matter. We're using a 2-set bonus. So Cyril's the same thing. It's attack and skill haste. As long as you have attack skill haste, you're getting the most benefit out of that 2-set bonus. And then Bled in again, Cyril sets, trying to hit for 80% crit rate. Get as much crit rate as you can. Try to get 80 crit damage, accuracy, basically just enough to give him enough accuracy to land the Witch's Remains. And then Naja is our big DPS who we have built with trying to get 100% crit damage and 200% crit, 100% crit rate, 200% crit damage, but couldn't quite get there. My gear is not very good here on the test server, so you could probably do better and get her to 100% crit. But yeah, and then we got Revitrix on her, of course, because it's the best artifact for a non-legendary. Any epic or rare is going to get a huge amount of attack and HP from this. But one artifact that's worth mentioning here, if you don't have Revitrix, is actually this. The Matriarch's Gem is a new artifact being added, and it is incredibly good. It's not quite as good as Revitrix, but it's like right behind it. So this is giving you 40 crit rate, and it's an attack percentage artifact. So it's giving you kind of the effect of 2 artifacts. If you had like the crit rate from Arcane Music Box plus the attack percentage from an attack percentage artifact, it's kind of giving you both. So it's really easy to gear people with this. You just slap this on, and then all you got to reach is 60% crit rate to have 100%. So you can put some crit damage gloves on. It makes it really easy to gear for 100% crit rate. So that's one worth mentioning. If you don't have the Revitrix, it's probably the next best. And then moving on, Elida here is in Enlightenment gear. We're just trying to get as much Enlightenment as we can for big shields. And then, of course, enough accuracy to land her attack penalty, as well as using Crown for the extra defense penalty. We have Megan is our main tank, going Craven's Eye Patch, the damage share set with the Ancestral, stacking just defense as much as possible. She doesn't need anything other than defense. Also, we had to build her with a little bit of HP. I built an HP percentage glove and an HP rune simply because the Revitrix on a rare or epic hero gives so much HP that it's hard to make the tank that you want to be the tank end up tanking the Call of Lightning. So if I didn't have this HP percentage on Megan, then Naja would become the tank of this fight. So it's kind of annoying. If you wanted to use this other artifact, of course, you wouldn't need to build Megan with HP. You could just stack full defense, but yeah, we had to put some HP on her, which is not a big deal. So just make sure that Megan is the tank. She's going to be the one with the eye patch, so she's going to be able to tank that Call of Lightning. And yeah, this is that team. 37 million. It's decent. It's definitely not as good as last season's Ice Blast team. But, if you have nothing else, or if it's a frost damage weekly buff, then this might be the budget team to go for. But moving on, we got Fire and Poison together here. And they've got some pretty good teams, 44 and 42 million here. This is the burn setup. This is like a budget burn team with the Rossies. And this team might surpass this budget wild team if you had a legendary like Karf or Durham or something. This team will probably surpass this wild team. Same for this wild team. If you had like Felicity or Flora or any of those like better legendary wilds, this team will definitely surpass some of the other teams. But taking a look at this, we've got, again, our really good damage gear, our undead gear on Arasis. He's our main damage dealer here. And we decided to go for the Matriarch's Gem because we needed to get him to 100% crit rate. This, his ult it's very important for his ult to crit because his ult is doing like 800, 900k damage. It's like almost all the damage he's dealing. And if you don't crit, you lose like so much of your damage. So with the Revitrix, we couldn't reach 100% crit rate. And so I decided to go with Matriarch's Gem just to get that 100% crit rate. And then we decided with Percival here, we just put the Revitrix on him. We got Biggs applying our Witch's Remains and using the Cyril set. Because he can apply burns on his auto attacks, he actually is able to keep that Cyril set pretty much 100% uptime for us, which is really nice. And then, yeah, both Percival and Biggs need accuracy because they're basically putting up all the burns that then Arasis is blowing up on the ult. We didn't build any accuracy on Arasis, even though he can put up some burns. I think on like the auto attacks sometimes. It's not worth it. He's our main DPS, so we just want to build him with full damage. And then, yeah, if you have another good undead set, you can put one here. I just didn't have one, so I decided to use Emissary. Like I said, the goal with undead is 100% crit rate and 200 crit damage. If you can't reach that on the undead set, then the Emissary set ends up being better. And then we've got our main tank is actually Isolde. And we're using the eye patch on her so that she doesn't get one-shot by the Call of Lightning. And we're putting this Oasis Guardian set. This is another set that has damage reduction if you're above 60% HP, which we normally will be when she's hit by the Call of Lightning. She's going to take 25% less damage. So this is huge for helping her tank that. And we're trying to stack mostly HP. Since her shields on her ult scale off HP, you want to stack a bunch of HP. So we have her up here at like 130k HP. We have HP percentage, HP percentage, HP percentage, and on every piece of gear, HP rune, accuracy rune. So aim for 180 accuracy, a bunch of HP, and then also you want between 30 and 40 skill haste. That'll make sure that this defense up from her battle skill is up during the boss when the boss ults you at 21.5. So try to get between 30 and 40 skill haste on the runes if you can. And that shouldn't be hard because this Oasis set is already giving you 20 skill haste. So you really only need like 10 to 20 skill haste on the runes. And then lastly, we got Furbath here using our Ancestral set. He's taking a portion of the damage we take. And he can take that because he's going full defense gear with some accuracy using the crown. And yeah, just stack defense, accuracy, and we're using the crown. And we're alternating him with Biggs to apply the Witch's Remains and the crown, alternating those two. At 26.8 and 16.8, we got Arasis following up after Biggs applies the Witch's Remains, and after Percival puts up this attack buff at 16.9. That's the order you want to go in. So Biggs goes first, then Percival, then Arasis. And then we have the shields from Isolde going up at 21.5. She's also placing an attack penalty. With these two timings of 21.5 and 26.8 with Isolde and Furbath, you should have permanent attack penalty on the boss. So permanent attack penalty, defense up from this battle skill when you get hit by the ults. Also shields, and you have a lot of healing from Furbath. Also, his healing is being enhanced by the defense up because his healing scales off defense. So the defense up from Isolde is actually making him heal for more. So this team is very well designed. These two supports do a really good job. I tried like Furbath Vikuk, Furbath Adolphus, a bunch of other two support combo, and this one just ended up being the best by far. The other teams were doing like 36, 37 million, so this team survived the longest. And then moving on, we got Wild with basically the same exact setup for the two supports, same gear and timings and everything. But now we're using the Wild DPSers with Tononon, Erich, and Netta. I tried Foley, I tried Alfie, but somehow Netta ended up being the best, surprisingly. Even though she's only a rare, she does a lot of damage, and that increased chance to proc Wild she has on the passive means that she's able to build up the stacks on Tononon and Erich much quicker. So she's a really solid character to use. And we have her with the Matriarch's Gem just to get her to, this would be a 94% crit rate with this, 200 crit damage. We got the best Emissary set we have on her because that's all we had left. And then we've got Tononon is in our really good undead set. Unfortunately, I couldn't get 100% crit. So she's at 95% right now. She gets 20 from the passive, so she's at 95, but it's good enough. And we got to the 200 crit damage that we're trying to reach. And she's using the Revitrix, of course, because that's like the best for her. And then lastly, we have, hold on, let me pull the team out real quick. We have Erich here using the Cyril set and applying our Witch's Remains. So just building them with as much crit damage attack. As long as you have enough accuracy, I think you only need 180 roughly, so this is a little overkill, but it doesn't matter too much. He's the lowest DPS on the team, so he's not too important. It goes, Toronan is in the lead with like 40%. Actually, probably not that much. It's like 30, 20, 15 or something like that. But yeah, anyway, here's the timings. So we have same timings with the two supports, but now we're having Erich go at 14.9. The reason for this is he's putting up the Witch's Remains. This will then expire. The Witch's Remains will then expire at 24.9. You want to make sure the Witch's Remains expires before Furbath tries to place the crown, because the crown cannot overwrite the Witch's Remains. It's a weaker debuff, so it can't overwrite a stronger debuff. So this is a good timing. This gives a couple seconds for Erich to apply the Witch's Remains, and then it will still expire before Furbath tries to apply the crown. And then if the crown is active still, then Erich will just overwrite it with the Witch's Remains. So this gives us the best uptime for the two defense penalty artifacts. And then we just have Netta and Toronan going like the latest they can, because we want to make sure we give time for some reason if he has trouble applying it on the first few hits. We want to make sure that the defense penalty will be up when they ult. So there that is. And then moving on to the very best. The best team, surprisingly, is Dauntless. This is the best budget team if you only have like epics and like a couple legendary artifacts. So we're using Staff here, which is Revitrix. Like I said before, if you don't have Revitrix, you could use like the Vile Ink on him, which would still be pretty good. And that's going to be his second best artifact. And then here we got, let me go over the gear first. So this new attack speed set is probably part of the reason why Dauntless is really good this season. Is this attack speed set is giving 70% attack speed, 20 on the two-piece effect and 50% on the three-piece effect. So crazy amount of attack speed. And then this guy is special. He's the new Dauntless Epic. He is giving every Dauntless character an attack speed buff on his battle skill. So he's helping your team attack even faster. So the idea with this team is just do as many attacks as possible, get as many derivative damage procs from Shaltar's ult as possible. And Shaltar is just doing incredible damage here. He does about 40... Oh, he does about 50% of the damage, actually. This guy ends up doing about 30%, so about 50% from Shaltar, 30% from the new Epic. And then because we have to build at least someone with Witch's Remains and the Cyril set, we have Shagrel here coming in last at like maybe 15% of the damage. So the reason why we have Shagrel as our Witch's Remains applier and not this guy, even though they both have a multi-hitting ultimate, this guy has a 4-hitting ultimate, is this guy's passive, he gets extra chance to do double attack hits, similar to Shagrel, but it scales off attack speed. So to get this up to a maximum of trigger chance of 50%, you need a lot of attack speed on him. So he's more gear dependent. So we ended up going, attack speed set. The Silver Star Horseshoe ends up giving him a lot of extra attack speed most of the time, 50% extra attack speed, and this is almost always active. He's attacking so fast with his battle skill attack speed, with the aura that we have here, this attack speed aura. He's attacking so fast that he's triggering this constantly. So he's just going to attack super fast. He's going to be doing these double attack triggers on his passive, and that's going to help enable Shaltar to do a bunch of damage. And then also his battle skill and ultimate are also really nice. This is a 2-hitting battle skill that counts as an auto attack, and this ult is a 4-hitting ultimate that counts as an auto attack. And then this also makes his subsequent 5 basic attacks also guaranteed trigger a double hit. So the next 5 autos are always going to be counted as 2 auto attacks. So these guys just all do a bunch of attacks, and then we got Garius and Nathaniel in here to keep the team alive. So basically, just try to get as much crit rate, crit damage, attack speed on this guy as possible. Look out for attack speed on the runes if you can. That's a really, really important stat here. But yeah, try to get, we've got 100% crit rate, 200 crit damage, a lot of attack speed. This guy with his attack speed buff, the aura, and then this 3-set bonus in effect, he's probably attacking more than once per second. He's attacking super fast. And then if he has the Silver Star Horseshoe active as well, this extra 50%, I mean, he's probably attacking like every 0.7 seconds. He's going crazy. Shagrol, again, trying to get as good DPS stats as you can while maintaining enough accuracy. We have 220. It's a little overkill. But I noticed that Shagrol, he has one of the lowest base defenses in the game. He has like 900. So you probably want to build him with a little bit of defense just to make sure he doesn't just die randomly early on. So I ended up putting like some gear that had some defensive stats on it. We got some defense percentage here and there. And then moving on, we got Shaltar in our maximum enlightenment gear. So this is the derivative damage set, and we're just looking for attack and enlightenment. His damage only scales off attack and enlightenment. He cannot crit. Derivative damage cannot crit, so there's no point in building any of that. And if you're using Vile Ink, which stops you from even being able to crit, there's even less of a point, so keep that in mind. So yeah, attack gloves, enlightenment body armor, enlightenment runes. Enlightenment is the most important stat, attack percentage is the second most important, and then attack speed is the third most important on him. So we're just looking for max enlightenment, attack, and then if you can, get a little bit of attack speed mixed in. It's nice to have. And then lastly, let's look at the 2 supports that are keeping us alive. So Nathaniel here, we have him with another Cyril set. So because these gloves make you do increased damage while you have defense penalty on a target, and because Dauntless do most of their damage with basic attacks, they're doing good damage all 20 seconds of the fight. So alternating Cyril sets is actually really important in increasing our damage. So that's why we're using another Cyril set here on Nathaniel with the crown. He can actually apply the crown. He hits on the ultimate. And so you need to build accuracy on him if you're going to be doing this. So we have 200 accuracy here on him. And then again, he is an enlightenment-based shielder, so you want to stack as much enlightenment as you can get. So the main stats here being accuracy, enlightenment, and then because he doesn't do damage, you might as well get some defense thrown in there, might as well, so that he doesn't die. And yeah, so accuracy, enlightenment, defense. And then we have Garius, lastly, with the damage sharing ancestral set. He doesn't really need the, he doesn't really need this Oasis set. He's such a tanky guy that he's going to be the last to die every time. So we're putting the damage share set on him, and we're just putting as much defense as we can possibly get. So here we got 4.5k. We're also using staff to give us even more defense and shields. And yeah, just look for as much defense as you can humanly get. Every piece of gear be defense. I think the reason why we're using an HP rune right here is actually because he needed a little bit more HP for him not for Shaltar not to be the tank. Because again, Revitrix gives so much HP to epics. So yeah, we had to use 1 HP rune just to make sure he was the tank. But yeah, and the timings for this team are Nathaniel's at 21.5. He's not only giving us a defense buff and shields, but he's also cleansing us. Got to make sure you have, I think, between 30 and 40, again, 30 and 40 skill haste on the runes or on the gear. So this set is giving him 20. So you just need like between 10 and, yeah, no, between 0 and 10. No, yeah, between 10 and 20, sorry. Between 10 and 20 skill haste on the runes, and you'll be between 30 and 40. And then that way his battle skill is going to cleanse you before you get hit by the ultimate. But yeah, he's giving us defense up, shields. And then that defense up is still active when Garius ult at 26.8, increasing the amount of shields he's giving us with the staff. So 21.5, 26.8. We have our Witches Remains guy going pretty much as soon as he can. We're alternating him with Nathaniel. So I had to put a little bit of skill haste on him to get him down to 11.5. So we're going 11.5, 21.5, alternating these defense penalty artifacts and the Cyril set. And then we have Shaltar is going right before Shagrol to make sure that this attack that he's doing on his ult is applying those derivative procs. So you might have to get some skill haste on Shaltar as well to get him down to 11.4. And then lastly, we have this guy coming in last at 11.6. So that's the timings here. And yeah, this is, I guess, the best team on a strict budget. We are using a couple legendary artifacts. If you don't have the staff, then probably your next best bet is going to be using one of these this wild team because it doesn't have staff and doesn't require staff. And then, yeah, so those are the teams. Hope you guys enjoy. Hope that helps you guys out. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.